Hello, and welcome to another episode of our podcast. We'll be discussing a topic about real estate, commercial real estate, and how to start in commercial real estate. We have brought a great speaker with lots of experience. We'd like to introduce Joseph. I know Joseph for a while since he started in real estate and has had a great career in real estate. And then he focused in commercial real estate so much, and now he is a CCIM. Can you tell us a short introduction, 2 to 3 minutes about you, Joseph? Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me, and I'm really excited to be here. And I've known you for many years. When I first started in real estate, transitioning from my corporate job, I got connected with you, and I was inspired by what you were doing with investments and technology, and that's kind of what I use to model my business as well. It's kind of follow your footsteps. One. So again, my name is Joseph James. I'm a commercial real estate broker, investor, and I also an educator in the commercial real estate space. I do a lot of training for new agents and experienced agents as well. So that is, in a nutshell, what I do.
Thanks so much. If I am a real estate agent, I am a residential real estate agent, and I'm thinking about commercial real estate. What are kind of those first steps or those first things that I should be doing as a residential investor that wants to do some commercial real estate?
Yeah, great question. I think if you're a residential agent, or for that matter, if you're not, if you're coming from another job, looking to get into commercial real estate, I think the first thing I would advise is talk to other commercial brokers and find out what is their lifestyle, what do they do to get business, how does their typical day look like, and how much pay you can get, you can expect, as you go along, maybe the first year, how much you can expect to make, and how much you can expect to make in 5 years down the road, and so forth, and get a feel for what they do. Commercial real estate is so broad, right? So you can do leasing, you can do development, you can do investment sales, so you have to kind of know where you want to start. Well, you can do it all, but it's a great idea to talk to somebody who's already doing it and find out, where you want to start. Because a lot of the time what we find is people starting commercial estate and without a business plan, they get lost. So we don't want that to happen. So I think my first advice is talk to as many other commercial agents as you can, and then they can advise you on what training you need. Like before you go and start training, find out what you want to specialize in or where you want to start, and then do training that's very specific to what the industry or the niche that you'll be working in. So that is my advice for anybody who's new. Yeah, I think everybody needs fundamental understanding of commercial real estate, and there are a lot of good companies out there that can provide that. We also provide fundamental training. So I think when you're working with an experienced agent, typically when you start your commercial career, you will be mentored by somebody like Juan, somebody like myself, and or somebody that you join. And part of that is you have to probably look at getting the fundamental training first, right? Because that is something that you can do yourself. There are a lot of resources out there. If you're in Texas, for example, Texas has something called Texas Accredited Commercial Specialists Certification Program right now. CCIM is a great organization. Your broker will provide training for you if they have that. My company, ROI also specialize in providing basic training for new agents as well. So get the basic training done, and then you will work with your manager, your broker, your mentor, to specialize in, and as you're doing deals, they'll help you through your first few transactions. And that's how you learn, right? But, make sure that you have the basic training covered so you understand the fundamentals of the language of commercial real estate.
Right. Talking about that basic commercial training, there is different vocabulary that you use when you do, for example, you do retail, or you are doing multifamily, or you're doing office buildings. Can you talk a little bit about that language, those different words that we use for different?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. So when you're coming from residential to commercial, and we've all been there, right? I've been in residential real estate before I started doing commercial real estate. So the transition is a little bit challenging because of the vocabulary is different. How we do transactions are different. So you just have to learn as you go. And when you're talking about vocabulary, whether you're doing leasing, commercial leasing, there's a specific terms that we use for commercial leasing, like a triple net lease or absolute net lease or a gross lease. You have to understand the fundamentals of lease structures. If you're doing investment sales, for example, you need to know a little bit more about cap rates and cash on cash return or IRR yield, how to calculate those, or how to help your clients understand, how to do the due diligence of property. So the vocabulary is different, but that's all covered in the basic training, right? So when you take basic commercial training, you're going to learn all the main, there is so much to learn in commercial estate. Nobody knows everything. Even I have, I would say that I know 50% of what's out there, right? But when you're starting out, understand that you don't have to worry about learning everything. Understand the basics, right? Because then as you're doing transactions, your broker will help you, like if you're, in one's team, he's going to help you through your first few transactions. That's the best way to, right, to have somebody walk you through your first few transactions. But make sure that, you have the fundamental learning and understand the language of commercials, to a certain extent. But don't worry too much about learning too much, because the best way to learn is actually doing.
Right, it's about getting the experience. If I want to get the experience, let's say I've been learning, I learned commercial, I've been taking a few classes, then I have a client. What is those first steps that I get the education and now I want to get the experience, I have the opportunities? You mentioned a little bit about coaching, work with a coach, work with an experienced agent in that specialty. What else, other ideas do we have there?
No, I think, for commercial real estate, or whether you're coming in as an agent, broker, or you're coming in as an investor, I think it's imperative to work with somebody who's experienced for your first few transactions, because, the language is different, the contracts are different, things are going to come up. You don't know what you don't know, right? I mean, that is why experience matters. You can go get all the training you want, but experience matters. So I think we always recommend that, either you join a coaching program or you have a mentor or a broker who can help you with your first few transactions. And after you do a few transactions, I would say, 5 or 6 transactions, you're good to go, right? Because by then you're seeing it all, or then things are still going to come up. We collaborate a lot. So when I have a question, I'll pick up somebody who's more experienced than I am and ask them, right? Or I'll ask my mentor or my coach. Even, I've been doing this for a long time, and almost 10 years in the commercial industry as a broker. And I know still things come up that I have no idea what this is about. So we have connections and collaborate with other people. And commercial estate industry is very friendly. So we all share information and we all try to help each other. So don't worry about any of that stuff. Just main thing is that make up your mind that if you want to do commercial, get the basic training, have a mentor. Most of the time your mentor is going to be your broker. And then, once you do a few transactions, you'll be fine. So, it's not a big deal.
That's awesome. That's great advice coming from you. Let's talk a little bit about your experience. Let's tell some stories. Stories are always a great way to explain or to learn. I love stories. Tell us, especially for you, when you were a residential agent, you started, you wanted to become an agent or to start in real estate. You started in residential, then you moved to commercial. Can you tell us a little bit about your story? How did you come started and that movement from residential to commercial?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first got into real estate, around 2014 is when I got my real estate license. But I was doing some investments before that, so I already knew how to invest in single-family properties, and I've done some of that. And one, I don't know if you remember, you were my first broker, so I learned a lot from you, and I was inspired by what you were doing. I was lucky to have different mentors along the way. JC was my first mentor in commercial estate. Then we did a few transactions, and then you learn by doing it. Then I worked with another mentor, so he literally, talk to him at least a couple of times a week about these are the clients that I have. I don't know what to do, or this is what they're asking me. I don't know how to answer them. And then, my mentor helped me out, and then we kind of grew from there. So what we do now is exactly how I grew in commercial business. is what we provide as a service now to say, hey, if somebody wants to join our training programs or coaching programs, we teach you how to get into the business. And then you work with your broker for the legal side of the things that you can get things done. But, we are also a source for somebody who's looking for that kind of training and coaching. So there is nothing to commercial estate. It's just making sure that you like working with business owners and investors. Like in residential, we are working with, homeowners, people looking to buy or sell their home. When you come over to commercial, you're working with business owners and you're working with investors. So make sure that you would like to work with business owners and investors. And, like I said, I cannot repeat myself. Like, you just get your basic training, have a mentor for your first 1 or 2 years, right? And that is the best way to get started in commercial real estate. So you know that your clients will be taken care of. But at the end of the day, we have responsibility to our clients, and we want to make sure that we can take care of our clients. And best way to make sure that you can take care of your clients is having a mentor to walk you through your first several deals. Right? Then after that, you can be independent.
Right. There are many paths, I guess, learning experience to become a commercial real estate agent. I did, I believe in education. I did a master's in real estate at UTA, a school here in DFW, very important. And I thought that it was great. Say, oh, I did a master's. But tell us about the CCIM, because I believe the CCIM is the great of the great masters in real estate. It's well accepted nationwide. It puts you at a different level. Let's talk about a little bit about CCIM and why did you decided to do that CCIM approach?
Yeah, CCIM is a great organization. It's a non-profit organization. It's an association of commercial brokers who are very serious in their business, and it's not just for commercial brokers. It's also for investors, for lenders. So, but most of CCIMs are going to be commercial real estate agents or brokers. Now, the advantage of CCIM is it provides more structured training. And so basically, by taking the CCIM classes, it gives you the fundamental, technical training for commercial real estate, but it's also a networking opportunity, right? So you have a community of, 20,000 or so CCIMs across the nation, which is only about 10% of the total commercial brokers. So there is a respect that comes with CCIM, knowing that you've gone through a very structured, vigorous curriculum, and you've tested out, you've taken the exam, passed the exam, and before you get your designation, you also have to show that you're qualified experience. So I think the qualifications are something like you've done 10 transactions or $10 million, and there are different ways you can qualify. So not only it gives you the certification that you have completed a course, and there are about 4 or 5 different lessons or classes you have to take, and then you also have qualified experience before you have the designation. So the advantages is you get immediate recognition. So it's a very widely accepted and recognized designation. So everybody knows in the commercial industry, your clients will know what CCIM is. Most agents and brokers out there know what that is. So you get some respect. So especially when you're working with larger brokerages, being a CCIM and having that, that designation next to your name, it brings instant credibility. It also brings instant recognition. And when you're out there talking to your clients and they see that, right, to say you are a CCIM and they have immediate trust. You don't have to tell, you don't have to prove to them that you qualify. You help them, right? So that there are several advantages. And it has helped me tremendously also from that perspective. And more importantly, don't forget your own confidence, right? So your own confidence goes high when you have a designation and you're proud of something that you have achieved. And it's not difficult to get CCIM designation, and you have to take a few classes, and then once you have enough experience, you can take the exam and get the designation as well. So I'm extremely happy that I did the commitment to get my designation a couple of years ago.
Exactly, that sounds great. You don't need to have a CCIM to practice commercial real estate, but it definitely gives you an advantage and a way to compete and to really know, right? To really know how to structure contracts, how to analyze properties, how to create performance, of the different type of industries, right? Every industry within residential real estate have a different pro forma, has a different way for doing financial analysis. Um, can we talk a little bit about? I want to start in as a residential agent in commercial real estate. I'm already doing it. I got my education. I'm starting. Now everything is a little bit different than residential. So it's different the finances, it's different how to work finding properties, how to do the due diligence. Can we talk a little bit about the financing? What's the difference between residential and commercial financing?
Yeah, there's a big difference between residential and commercial financing. And even within commercial, if you're working with a multifamily property, the financing is different versus if you're working with a retail or industrial or another kind of property type. So you, based on your experience, you're going to connect with a lot of lenders. For example, in multifamily, you can do Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, even FHA loans for multifamily. There are a lot of bridge loans available for projects that require more renovations and things like that. These are temporary loans you can get before you go into permanent. If you do development, there is different financing structures available for development. If you're working with retail and like shopping centers or office buildings or industrial warehouses, then typically the financing is going to be slightly different, right? Because the big difference in the financing is going to be most commercial loans are going to have a term, which is a 5-year, 7-year, 10-year terms, meaning that either you have to sell the property or you have to refinance at that time. Unlike residential, where you have a 30-year mortgage, right? So the loans may be amortized for 20 or 25 years, but the term is going to be shorter, right? So that's how commercial lenders manage their risk, right? So they're not giving you a very long term. But long-term debt is possible if you're doing an FHA for a multifamily deal. Now, if you're a business owner, which a lot of our clients are business owners, they are buying buildings for their own use, like a dentist buying a building for their practice or a real estate broker having their own building for their practice. That is considered an owner-user application, so that you can get an SBA loan. SBA financing is very favorable in those scenarios. So those are some of the nuances that you'll understand once you get into commercial estate, that, depending on the client and depending on the property type, there are various financing options available.
Right. And having those financing options, and it is about the credit of the buyer, or it is about the property, the ability for the property to produce cash flow. Uh, what is that the difference between the residential?
Yeah, it's both, right? So definitely, the banks care a lot about the asset is going to produce cash flow to pay the loan payments, right? So that is at most that property, if the financials are good. But they're also going to look at, these are typically larger loans for the most part, so they're also going to look at your financials. But the good thing in commercial is most commercial clients, they are a group. So, you can, if you're a commercial client, if you want to buy a $10 million property, not many people can afford a $10 million property by themselves, but they will create what's called a syndicate, right? So there, few people will come together and, collectively they will meet the lender's requirements. Typically lenders will want to see, what is the net worth of the group or the individual. They want to see what is the liquidity, meaning after you purchase the building, how much money do you have left over in your bank account just in case something comes up. So those are a few of the things. And obviously they are, they're also looking for somebody in the group to have experience. So if you're a first-time buyer, sometimes the lenders are not very favorable because you don't have the experience as well. So these are things that we can help our clients to make sure that, we can prepare them for a very successful outcome, right? Because we want to make sure that if they're putting a group together, that collectively they meet all the lenders' qualifications. But at the end of the day, it's like doing a hard money loan when it comes to commercial, right? Because the number one thing is the property has to perform, right? So meaning that the cash flow from the property should be more than enough to pay for the mortgage payments. So that is the number one thing. Now, if you are the owner user, like I mentioned before, banks love you, right? Banks want to work with an owner user. So especially in today's market, when interest rates are very high and it's very difficult to make some of the deals work, but banks are very favorable towards, because they have to lend some money, so they have to make some money, right? But they are very favorable towards owner users. So if you're a doctor looking to buy a building, or if you are a CPA looking to buy a building, banks are very favorable to lending to those scenarios, right? As long as you have a good business plan and an established business.